talk about the show. I'm going to start off with executive producer Nicholas Wooten. Next up is executive producer Walter O'Brien, who also inspired the show you just saw. He's a real-life genius. Executive producer Nick Santora. Elyes Gabel, who plays Walter and has mad driving skills. I think they enjoyed the pilot a little bit, and based on the... For the producers, I want to start off by having you explain a little bit about the genesis of the show and sort of how this came to be and how your partnership with Walter came to be.
We're sitting next to the genesis of the show right here. He's 197 IQ, real-life hero, has saved the world several times over, most of which he's not allowed to tell us about. And, you know, how could you not make a TV show about this guy?
Walter, that's kind of an intimidating thing for people to come up to you and be like, we want to make your life into a show. Was there any anxiety you had about that, or any concerns, or anything like that?
Well, I'm left brain dominant, so thankfully anxiety and nervousness and so on are very minimal for me. And pretty much any feelings are. But yes, you know, if I had feelings, I wouldn't have anxiety.
The truth is, Walter has the ultimate trump card. If we ever write anything that annoys him, he will delete our identities.
Yeah. But you were telling me a little bit about why you decided to actually do the show, because that's, I mean, it holds a little bit of a bigger meaning to you, right?
Sure. Well, the kind of the story behind the genesis of it is, for 25 years now, I've run a company that I refer to as a home for the mentally enabled. It's for people with high IQ and low EQ, and we try to make them functional in society and make them useful. And finding geniuses is hard. 150 IQ, which is our minimum, is 1 in 10,000 people. So what we did was we figured, what if they could find us? What if we had more awareness and people saw themselves in the show and Googled and found the real company and reached out to us? Then the good we've done so far, which is, you know, we've got 4 terrorists, stopped 2 wars, saved a lot of lives. We can do more good if more genius join us. On the other side, more people will call us with more problems to solve. And you know, other shows, CSI for example, has influenced a lot of kids to change their major and what they study. So 5 or 8 years from now, people started studying computer science or artificial intelligence because we made it look cool. That might just help this country a little bit.
So any geniuses out there can bring the business card after, right? After the panel. Elyes, I want to talk to you a little bit about why you decided, or like why this part kind of stood out to you, why you thought it was a cool one to take on.
I think just through hearing Walter speak now, you can understand how sort of exciting it is to see somebody else's progression, you know that you're playing a real life character. All these interesting things that Walter's talking about right now, just really do inform where I know he's gone to. So there's so much mileage in what the show can achieve, and also the character, because you're joining him, I suppose, at the beginning of a reintroduction to different characters. The steps to becoming where Walter is right now is it's a very interesting challenge as an actor.
How closely do you work with him on like the actual character?
I was on his knee for about 3 days. You know, I thought it was very important to serve the story, to serve Walter, to spend as much time, I suppose, getting into, well, we spent quite a lot of time talking about your past in Ireland, what you get up to at the moment, where your brain's at, and how you would react to sort of learned behavior, I suppose, is what my understanding of it is. how you administer or how you behave with other people, and the challenges to do with that. But I spent a lot of time talking to Walter, as much time as I could really.
And Kat, for you, you were kind of coming off of Smash a little bit. Yes, thank you. Amazing show. Why did this feel like a good part for you, for a good follow-up for you?
Well, that car chase, when I got to that part of the script, not the car chase, the big car airplane woman. Well, I mean, first of all, I think that playing a character that was so different from something I did on Smash was a young mother, you know, raising a child on her own is something so different. And then all the action elements that we have in this show. And, you know, I think the thing that we talk about so much that we love about the show is that it has so much heart. And yet it's funny, and there's these moments of high action. And so for me, when I was reading the script, I just thought, wow, this is something so different, and something new for me to try. And, you know, it's a real different character. Kind of a more grown-up character, I think, for me.
Yeah. You also have to show off your mad driving skills. I mean, that's kind of fun.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
You got to show off your mad driving skills.
Oh, gosh. Do you know we weren't moving at all? That was the hardest thing I think I've ever had to do. Right? I was, you know, Justin just kept coming up to Justin Lin, our director. He's not here, right? No. And he was,
Nobody's watching at home.
he would go up to me and he was like, so, here's the thing, I'm just not buying it. I'm just not buying it. And I was just like, oh, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. So that it really was hard because you're not moving at all. Like the whole thing is complete imagination. But it was fun, wasn't it?
We had a Ferrari that we did all the stunts in where we didn't move, and the only car that I drove was a Datsun.
He actually
1979 Datsun, and you drove a VW through.
I did actually drive that for a second, but all the like crazy stuff I wasn't actually doing. So.
It's not a good swap.
For the producers, how much of the show is going to be action adventure, and how much of it is going to be character development for anyone who is taking it?
The show's about the characters, at the end of the day. The action and the adventures each week, and there will be an adventure and a problem and a conundrum that this incredible team has to attack each week. But that only exists to affect and reflect on this incredible team of characters. It's a character-driven show. That being said, the action's going to be amazing.
But I think as Nick was just saying too, you know, that this idea that the higher the IQ, the lower the EQ is such an interesting problem for us, and it was, I think, one of the things that got us so drawn to this from the beginning, that the things that we take for granted as being normal everyday tasks are impossible for these geniuses, and the things that we would think are impossible are normal everyday tasks for them. And so watching them learn to raise their emotional intelligence and learn to adapt to the world, I think, makes them underdogs that everybody can root for. So in many ways, the action would be nothing without that as the beating heart of the show. That being said, the action will continue to be what it was in the pilot, if you all like that, you know, and that's our plan.
Do we get into the characters, like especially the Team Scorpion's backstories? Because we saw some flashbacks.
We will absolutely be getting into their backstories, and I think you know, we're going to get to know these people as well as we can. I think everything, all the action stuff and all the adventures that they're getting into are going to reflect on every bit of their personality. And you know, I would say one of the most interesting things about Walter's world in the real world is that these are incredibly gifted people on one hand, and then on the other hand, they are, you know, they can be extraordinarily awkward. So moving forward in sort of the adventures and what we're doing and the character development and all that stuff is putting these people in situations where they're absolutely perfect, and then also putting them in situations where they are horrendously bad. So that's sort of the fun of, you know, the fun of the adventure stuff moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Robert, Patrick.
Hello.
Y'all are just a few days into filming an episode right now. What have you learned so far about your character that, you know, you're very interested in? It's kind of
I'm very interested in the characters and where we're all going in our relationships. Kat and I right now are currently working on bringing her in and making her more of an ally. Am I allowed to say that, Nick? I'm using her to help me deal with the geniuses and these guys are it's like herding a group of puppies, you got to kind of keep them going in the right direction and dangle a carrot out there and say, hey, look over there, you got to go over here. It's a fun role for me, I'm really interested to see where the relationship goes with Walter, Elyes' character, and there's a lot of conflict going on there with us. When we snatched him from his farm in Ireland, unbeknownst to us, he was, as you saw, the hacker Scorpion. We had no idea how young he was, and we brought him back to America, and now he's going to work for us. And so it's kind of I've been using the analogy or the metaphor of like Colonel Tom Parker with Elvis Presley. I got to let the guy do his thing and give him the room to do it. So it's been a lot of fun.
And the cool thing about Mr. Patrick, and he's so modest he would never say this, but real life is following Art a little bit in that, in the show, he becomes a father figure to these characters, and on set, Robert is helping these actors, because we have this huge group of actors, and they're all so talented, but when you're working with someone like Robert Patrick, it's very easy to turn to him and look up to him because he's been so successful. And Robert will openly give advice and be incredibly generous with them, and everyone feels that on set. I'll take it.
We're going to take audience questions in just a bit, so if you want to line up and get those queued up in your brain. I want to go to Roberto real quick, because I did get a lot of questions on Twitter about where Paige and Walter's relationship is going to be going. What can you say about that?
For me? As Robert was saying, the idea of having a connection to humanity, in a sense, is the bridge between humanity and the problems that they solve are what Robert's character and what Paige fulfill with Scorpion. And so that's going to be a complicated relationship. On the one hand, I think you rely on someone like that, and also you can resent the idea that you have to rely on someone like that. And so it's not simply friendships here. The idea that these characters know that they're doing good together. But meeting people is difficult. And I think that's part of what we learned from sort of figuring out this show is that when you're so smart, you maybe think you don't need anybody, and we all need each other. And so the idea of all these characters needing each other is both what they want and what we all hate. I hate needing you. All of you. I hate you all. I need you. Don't leave me.
I also got asked on Twitter a lot. I mean, Walter, the character, doesn't seem too much like a singing guy, but we got some singers up here, like with an A. Like, is there ever going to be any musical element to the show in some way? Like
If I gotta sing.
Outing?
Who knows?
It's possible. Okay, so do we have any questions out there? Yeah.
Nice cameo, by the way. My question is around the financials of the show. So are you funding the show, or are you getting kickbacks or royalties for the show?
I'd like to know that too, Walter.
I don't know, what would be the smart move?
You don't know.
No, CBS have been extremely good, extremely generous on supporting the show and really grasping the idea of it's a celebration of intelligence. And we don't do enough of that anywhere, let alone on TV. I think it's about time.
Hello, thank you. Will Walter have an evil super genius nemesis?
That's what he's designed for the job.
Possibly, and you could play it.
Yeah, we
we've always talked about something that down the line that there could be somebody who was, what's known in his world as a black hat actor, who could be, somebody who's definitely in that role. So it's something we talked about.
Good idea.
That's a good question.
The answer in real life is not anymore.
Frightened yet?
The doors are locked. Trapped.
Hi, my name is Teresa and I'm a teacher in Ohio, and I was wondering if you have any advice for teachers on how to recognize the genius in students versus sometimes seeing them, as Catherine did her son at first, seeing him as disabled, and will that come out in the show? That's a big question.
I think the show will help address, and many people don't understand what IQ means, and they overuse the term genius. I think the show will help understand that world a little better. I know for myself, teachers used to complain that I was slow because for every one question another kid would ask, I had 10 questions. I think that the show will raise awareness and a better understanding of why these folks are the way they are, why their internal sounding board is broken, and why soft skills and social skills are so hard for them. Advice for teachers? Unfortunately, all kids are not the same. They can't be taught the same way. They can't be treated the same way. And I think just recognizing that and telling them, if you have a high IQ kid, it means he's maybe 1 in 10,000. So if the whole school disagrees with him, there's a more than 50% chance he's right and they're wrong. He'll also only find 2 people in his life who can truly empathize with him. So it's a lonely place to be.
Hi, my name is Anthony. First I want to say that Patrick, being in front of you, Robert Patrick, sorry. Hey. Being in front of you right now, I'm suddenly 7 years old watching T2 for the first time.
Are you scared? I slowed down a little bit.
But my question's for Catherine. I follow your music. I love your music. So I was wondering what's it like going from that to it's something action-packed like this.
Right. What,
Doing music and then...
well, these boys can vouch for me, but
She sings in between
I
takes.
never
also.
shut I really don't do it to be annoying, it's just I can't.
It's beautiful. We enjoy it.
I don't think the crew enjoys it. I actually got shushed yesterday.
The sound guy loves
The
it.
sound guys love it.
No, they said share.
That's very kind of you. I'll still, I'm still working on music stuff. So. Is that all? Cool hair, dude.
Nice hair, yeah. I like that.
I think this is going to be our last question. Hi, I was wondering that when you have a show like this, how do you walk the line between celebrating the geniuses and making fun of them?
If we make fun of them, Walter will kill us. We talked about that a lot in the early stages. The first time I sat down with Walter, the first day we ever met, within a few minutes, I felt that the show's hook was being 1 in 1.497 billion is lonely. And that's who Walter is. There's 3 people in the world that have ever scored higher on an IQ test than Walter. I'm sitting next to number 4. We don't want to make fun of those people. It's difficult, it's challenging. Walter has described it sometimes in ways that makes it feel like a disability. So at no point will our intention ever be to mock or make fun of. There might be humor in the inability to fit in or to adjust, but I don't know how many geniuses there are in this room other than Walter, but all of us have probably felt that way and we laugh at ourselves sometimes. We never want to take it further than that.
Make sure to check out show on CBS when Elyes is called.